Good morning. When you have good news to share, who is the first person that you tell? When you have wonderful news, with whom do you share it? In preparing this homily, I was reminded of the time when my wife Elaine and I were looking to buy a home in Reidy. After looking at many houses, Elaine saw this one house on Haystack Road and really liked it. We arranged for a tour of the house with our baby daughter Lauren being carried in the car seat. Something went awry with the planning as the family was still at home and eating breakfast while we toured the house. So we met the family. We put an offer on the house and we got into a bit of a bidding war. After going back and forth all weekend, our real estate broker Jim called on Sunday and asked if we could go higher than our last bid. We talked about it and reluctantly decided that we could go no higher, that we had reached our limit. Disappointed, we agreed to forget about our new house for a while and just focus on other things. The next morning, just as I was about to run out the door to drive to the train station from our apartment in Winchester, the phone rang. It was a little after 6 o'clock in the morning. I answered the phone and it was Jim calling yet again. And he said, "Can you go $1,000 higher?" So of course I said yes, even though we had just agreed the night before that we could go no higher. And Jim said, "Congratulations, you've got the house." It seemed that the family that we met by chance when we toured the house was rooting for us, the young couple with the new baby, to get the house. Now our apartment was so small that I could be on the phone in the kitchen and see Elaine lying on the bed in the bedroom. So I immediately yelled out, "We've got the house, hooray, we've got the house." Then I ran out the door as fast as I could to catch my train. As I went through the day, I wanted to shout out again and again to everyone I met, "We got the house, we got the house." All day I could not wait to get home, to talk to Elaine, and to call my family and let them know. And so it is with all good news, it is just made to be shared. In the gospel reading, we hear of these two dejected disciples who leave the community in Jerusalem to return to their home in Emmaus. It is late afternoon on Easter Sunday. During their journey, they encounter Jesus, but they do not recognize him as he walks along with them on the road. In response to a question from Jesus, they recount the extraordinary events of the last several days, finishing by telling him that the women from their group have astounded them by reporting that the body of Jesus was not in the tomb, and that a vision of angels announced that he was alive. They found all of this just too hard to believe. The story contrasts the faith of the women disciples who proclaimed the Easter gospel with the lack of belief of these two individuals who seem to have abandoned their faith in Jesus. As they walk along, Jesus patiently explains the scriptures to them, beginning with Moses and all the prophets, opening their hearts and minds to the great mystery of his passion, death, and resurrection. In the evening, Jesus shares in the breaking of the bread with them, whereupon their eyes were opened and they recognized him. On one level, the story is about the resurrection event and how his disciples experienced that event, how they began to move from a place of sadness and despair to a place of belief and joy. These two individuals encountered Christ on the road to Emmaus, took him into their home, and subsequently recognized him in the breaking of the bread. Through this encounter, their sadness was turned into joy. On another level, all those who hear this story can recognize their own questions, actions, and emotions in those of the two disciples. Each of us is on a journey, a pilgrimage to God. Christianity is not merely a belief in a series of historic events, the life, death, and resurrection of Jesus Christ. It is also an encounter with the living God, the God of Abraham, God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. The two disciples said to each other, "Were our hearts not burning within us while he spoke to us on the way and opened the scriptures to us?" Despite their mourning, their sadness, and their doubts, they were open to Jesus. They responded to him. They welcomed him into their home and invited him to eat with them. And what did they do when Jesus was made known to them in the breaking of the bread and then vanished from their sight? They immediately got up and set out on the road back to Jerusalem. Despite the lateness of the hour and being tired from the day, they were re-energized and felt a burning desire to share the good news of their encounter with the risen Christ with the entire community of disciples. Such astounding news simply had to be shared without delay. So too with us. If we desire to be his disciples, we must listen to the scriptures and pray that Jesus will open our hearts and minds to his word. We need to welcome him into our hearts and allow him to come to us in the sacraments, especially through Holy Communion, the breaking of the bread. We must follow him in faith and trust, rejoicing in our God and all that he has done for us. This year, I feel like I was with Jesus on Easter Sunday, but the return trip from Emmaus back to the community in Jerusalem has been never-ending. I want to rejoice with all of you in our community, the Reading Catholic community, to share the encounter that we've had with the risen Lord. I cannot wait until we can all be together again to break bread as a community, the community of his disciples. With the grace of God, that day shall indeed come soon. Until then, look for Jesus in those you meet, and be for them the sign that they need. Help them to move from being in a place of sadness and despair to a place of belief and joy. Like Peter in his discourse on Pentecost that we heard in the first reading, share with them the good news that Jesus Christ has died for us and is risen from the dead. There is nothing more important. It is so important that we should live our lives thinking there is someone out there who does not know Jesus Christ, and it is a scandal that I have not shared Jesus with them. Yes, I must leave my weaknesses and failings behind and share with them this good news that has been given to me, this astounding news that simply must be shared. Amen.